Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's interview with one of our speakers from the Women Thrive Summit. Today, I am joined by Dr. Sola Togun. Hello, Dr. Sola, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Where are you joining us from today?
I am joining from Center Reach, Long Island in New York.
Oh, love
Mm.
that.
Yes.
All right. Well, if you're joining us for today's conversation, today we're going to be talking about how to empower women from burnout to balance and using realistic self care tools. And my speaker and expert today is Dr. Sola Togan Butler. She's the founder and CEO of psychotherapist at Butterfly Counseling Services. She established Butterfly Counseling Services to make mental health services more accessible and affordable to diverse clients, populations, and challenge the stigma associated with receiving mental health services. She's certified professional life coach and transforming coach and consultant, and she empowers women from burnout to balance by
Mhm.
teaching women realistic self-care tools that create more work-life balance.
Mhm.
Dr. Sola, good to have you here today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
I know there's a lot of stigma around mental health and seeking out for support, and perhaps even recognizing ourselves or where do we need help. I want to ask you how you got to do what you do today, so maybe our audience can get to understand a little bit more about where you're coming from in today's discussion.
I think when it comes to looking at my journey, I definitely have to give a lot of gratitude to both of my parents. My father was a psychiatrist, so
Mm,
he spoke to me very openly about mental health and
mm,
the stigma associated with mental health. So, a lot of people, unfortunately, suffer in silence because they feel like it's difficult for them to share that they are struggling with mental health issues. So my father and my mother were very, very huge proponents of mental health and talking very openly about the fact that our mental health is just as important as our physical health. So when I became an adult, going into mental health was something that was very, very important to me. And understanding too the impact that the environment does have on our mental health. So dealing with issues of racism, discrimination, oppression, and really
mm,
highlighting my work to show that our environment, if it gives us the message that we do not belong, it can have a negative impact on our mental health. And the fact that we all struggle with mental health issues from time to time. And COVID-19 definitely brought that to the forefront, where a lot of people were struggling with, anxiety, depression,
mm.
grief, and loss, and creating an environment in which they can be open about what they're going through was very important during that time. So while the topic of mental health is out there more often than it was years ago, there is still very much that stigma associated with receiving mental health services.
Yeah, and there are so many things that can fall under that category of what is mental health, right? Uh, if I'm experiencing, let's say, anxiety or feeling isolation, does that
Yes.
mean I have a problem that I need to reach out to someone, right? So there's just so many different things, so many layers to it, may I say. Who are the people that you tend to work with and help? What do they tend to struggle with or come to you for?
So a lot of people that I work with are majority women who are
Mhm.
struggling with the day-to-day stressors. So a lot of women who are working full time, who are going to school, raising a family, and feel like they have very limited time to take care of themselves. So they are
Mm,
practically on the verge of burning out because they are completely exhausted. And
mm,
I'm working with a lot of the women. We look at thought patterns, and they would tell me, I have been raised to think a certain way. Like, I have to put everybody first. I have to be
mm.
last. If I put myself first, I feel guilty. Or if I take a break, if I just want to relax, then I'm constantly thinking you need to be doing something. You can't just sit here and have time to yourself. And as a result of that, they are emotionally exhausted, they're physically exhausted, they're mentally exhausted. And then they're reaching out to me because they feel like they need some help because they can't go on the way that they have currently. So my work is majorly with women who are feeling like they're about to burn out. They're stressed out, they're overwhelmed, and they're having difficulty coping.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. When you were naming all of that, I was like, yeah, 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 all right. Because sometimes we forget, right? As women, I mean, I raised my hand. I'm right here. I'm telling you,
Yes.
like guilty of all of that, right? Because
Mhm.
when we're busy, we're trying to take care of our families. I'm a new mom, trying to build my business, trying to manage a team. Sometimes you do unfortunately fall at the bottom of that to-do list and
Yes.
never get around to taking care of yourself or prioritizing yourself at all.
Mhm. Yes, absolutely, because we're juggling multiple things.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, we put ourselves at the bottom of the barrel. And what I
Mm,
try to work with my lot of clients on is life is about balance. So I want to take care of my family, my
yeah.
business, my assignments, my projects, and I want to take care of myself as well. So I always tell my clients it's an and world, meaning like two things can be true. I can take care of others and take care of myself. So it's not one or the other. So sometimes when I work with women, it's almost one or the other. So everybody else is taken care of, and I'm at the bottom. So I'm like, let's find balance and let's make it an and world where we are part of that equation because we deserve self care as well.
100%. And it makes such a difference. And I always realize, because, I do work long hours just because the current times we're leading up to a big event. But I find that if I just sleep a little bit better, or if I go out for a walk, and these are little times that I try to carve out in my day to just go for a half an hour walk and feel unapologetic about it, or
Yes.
have a good night's sleep, or go
Hmm.
have a bath, or book yourself in for a massage or something.
Yes.
And you come back and you feel much happier,
Mhm.
rejuvenated, more energy, more creativity. That it really pays its dividends.
It does. It really does. When we take care of ourselves, we notice the difference. And when it comes to self care, I tell my clients we can do self care in as little as 5 to 10 minutes. Because
Mm,
sometimes a lot of my clients would say, I don't have an hour or I don't
yeah.
have 30 minutes. So I will say to my clients, do you have 5 minutes? We can do some deep breathing exercises in 5 minutes. I call that
Mm,
soothing with the senses. So using our senses to soothe ourselves. So, what can you hear, like music, that is soothing to you? What can you look at that is soothing? What can you taste? Like a nice cup of mint tea can be very soothing. So, all these little things can give us that reset that we need because our body and our mind is constantly communicating to us. And if
mm,
we ignore that message, then what ends up happening is that we break down. So, we try to carve out little things, 5 to 10 minutes. What can you do every day to stay on top of your self care
mm.
and not feel guilty about it because
Yeah.
you are deserving of it.
Oh, come on, you're speaking to my heart right there. And I am all about women empowerment,
Yes.
making sure that our women do prioritize ourselves. We can't
Yes.
pour from an empty cup. We can't show up in the best light. And I have these conversations with my team members because if I know it's too much overwhelm for them and their roles,
Right.
I tell them, you need to go and have a rest. You need to offload
Yes.
something off your plate in order to support your mental health. Because I think when we push, 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 we don't realize how quickly it can start to affect us on a much deeper level.
Absolutely. It's called the superwoman syndrome, this idea that we have to do it all. So
Yeah.
we're trying to juggle multiple things because the belief system is that that means that you are superwoman. That means that you're the best of the
Mm,
best because you're not asking for any help. You're staying late hours. You're the first one in, the last one out. So sometimes women have been taught this syndrome so that if we're not adhering to it, we feel like there's something wrong with us. When in
mm,
reality, it's okay to take a break. It is okay to delegate. I call myself the queen of delegating. If I could delegate, I will delegate because it frees up my time to do
yeah.
other things, frees up my time for self care, frees up my time to spend with my children, frees up my time to
Mm,
spend with my spouse. So it's the whole idea of challenging the superwoman syndrome that women have internalized that I have to do it all. I shouldn't take a break. I should feel guilty if I take time for myself. So I work with women on challenging that belief system that you are deserving of self care. You are deserving of that moment to just do what
yeah.
you want to do. Or my one thing I always tell my clients and my colleagues and friends is Saturdays, I will stay in bed till 12 p.m. That is my self-care. And there's no guilt associated with that time because I know that I deserve that. And that's how I
Mm.
can replenish after a very long, busy week most of the time.
Yeah, for sure. And likewise, I love my weekends, and sometimes I don't respond to messages
Yes,
because it's my time. I don't have to, right? And I think we've
exactly.
got to give ourselves more grace in today's world.
Absolutely.
Dr. Sola, so I know that the way you do things is a little bit different to most people. Your programs and kind
Mm.
of your way of thinking is different to
Mm.
other people how they do um how to do this work. Talk me through a little bit more about how you do coaching for women.
Sure. So I decided to start transformative women's program based on my years as a mental health professional and also
Mm,
based on my own personal life experiences. And that was really important to me when figuring out how to put together transformative women coaching program. Because again, I was thinking about becoming an entrepreneur. I was working full time, married, young children, and I felt really, really overwhelmed. And that's
yeah.
when I tapped into my training as a mental health
Mm,
professional. And I looked into other burnout prevention programs and I felt there was something missing. And that's why I wanted to address what I felt was missing. The number one thing I noticed that was missing is that in order for us to prevent burnout, we need to address the ways in which gender roles have socialized women. And we have
mm,
internalized this belief system. So, for example, the superwoman syndrome is part of that, that we need to do it all, that we shouldn't set boundaries. We should
yeah.
always be available. And also, with some women that I've worked with, you should never take a break from your children. That if you take breaks, that you are in some way a bad mother.
Mm,
So we've internalized that. So it makes it very difficult for us to engage in self care. The other component that I felt was very important is our emotional health. So it's kind of checking in with your emotions on a daily basis. So it's an awareness of your emotions and what are your emotions telling you? And that in our society, we have been conditioned to see certain emotions as being negative. So anger is a bad emotion, jealousy is a bad emotion, guilt, shame, and they're
yeah.
not bad emotions. If we don't judge our emotions, we're able to welcome them in to understand the message that they're trying to tell us. And if we don't stay on top of our emotional health, then we are more likely to be on the path to burnout. And then it begins to impact our interpersonal relationships. If I am not on top of my emotional health, if I'm not on top of the message that my emotions are trying to tell me, then it's likely that I will lash out at those around me. It is likely that I will not communicate how I'm feeling effectively. So, in order for burnout to be effective, we need to address our thought patterns that come with what we've internalized, as well as our emotional health.
Wow. Yeah, there's certainly so many layers. And I think first thing is always becoming aware,
Yeah,
aware of the situation, aware of ourselves, aware of our conditioning. Because a lot of times, like you say, we just do until it's too late, until
yes.
there is a wake up call. Unfortunately, you end up in a hospital or you
Mhm.
experience something more traumatic. It doesn't have to get to that stage for us to realize that we don't have to actually burn ourselves out. And do you find that most people come to you and seek out for help at the verge of, or actually was when it's already almost too late? They're already gone into that danger zone.
Yes, they're coming to me at this point because they are practically on that verge of burnout. And
Mm,
they've realized that everything that they've tried to that point is not working.
yeah.
So now they're seeking the help of a therapist. They're seeking the help of a coach to see what is it that I need to do
Mm,
because now it's impacting my health, it's impacting my interpersonal relationships, and
yeah.
it's impacting my work. Because the whole idea is for self-care to be preventative and not reactive. And that's why I teach my clients we need to do things every single day. So just like physical health, people are aware that I need to, work out, move my body,
Yeah.
see my doctor, eat healthy. And I say the same thing about self-care. What do we need to do daily? Let's check in with ourselves. Self-awareness is so important. Like, how am I feeling today? What are my emotions telling me? How can I move my body? It could be a 5-minute stretch in the morning. That's a form of self-care. That's preventative. So not waiting till we're on
Mm.
that verge where we are physically, mentally, emotionally exhausted to now start seeking help. So to start that from the beginning, what are things I could do every day to stay on top of self-care?
Yeah, beautiful. So, so important. And,
Yes.
it could cost us a lot, as you mentioned, relationships, our jobs,
Mhm.
our health. It's the cost is too much. And I've asked actually in some Facebook groups this week, I said, what is the cost of success?
Mm.
What have you had to sacrifice? And a lot of times we don't count that as a cost, right? We think, oh,
Yes.
a cost is a financial cost, it's investment. But actually, the more I sort of go into the business that I am and making big impact, more and more I am conscious also of the cost of it.
Yes.
So your cost to success, don't let that be your mental health. Don't let that be your health
Mhm.
in general, because it's not worth it. And I think a lot of people will tell you it's simply not worth it.
Yes, absolutely. When we're looking at that cost, like you mentioned, the cost to our
Mm,
mental health, the cost to our physical health or emotional health, the cost to our relationships. That's also very important where we're so
yes.
busy that we do not have time to build relationships because relationships need to be nurtured. And we're so busy that we don't have the time to
Mm,
do that. And those relationships suffer as a
mm,
result of that. And I think the example I always give is my daughter's drawing. She was about 5 at the time, where
mm,
she's sitting on the couch with her dad and her brother, and then I'm all the way at the other end. And as a therapist, I'm well aware that children use their artwork to express how they're feeling. So I asked my daughter, "Why is it that your dad and your brother, you're all sitting together and I'm all the way over there?" And she goes, "Mommy, you're always doing work." And
mm,
that really hurt my soul. Like, that was her way of telling me, "You're not available because 'cause we're all over here and
yeah,
you're all the way over there." Knew that something needed to change. I needed a balance. What's the balance of working and also spending time with my daughter and my family?
yeah. Oh my goodness. That just, kind of pierced me. As you know, I got a 6 months old daughter, and I was like, oh, that I could feel so deeply. And it's not
Yes.
the example we want to set, right? And it's
Right.
not a feeling we want to create for our family that we're not present.
Right.
So for me, I try to, even if I have half an hour to spend with her, that time I want it to be quality. And same, like when you are away playing in the park or you take your kids somewhere, be present in that moment because that's your
Yeah.
time with them. That is not your time to work. And I try to be as present as I can be with my daughter every time that I'm with her.
Absolutely. Yes. It's what I call mindfulness, is being in the moment.
Mm,
Where we're engaging with our family or we're engaging in our self-care and not let these thoughts
mm,
of work or you should be doing something ruin the moment. Because I
mm,
notice that with my clients, like they're doing something they enjoy, but they can't really enjoy it because the feeling of guilt is that, oh, you should be working or you should be doing this and you're wasting time. And I'm like, no, live in that moment, enjoy that moment. That is
mm,
your time, either for yourself, your family, your friends, your partner. Live in that moment and enjoy it and let those thoughts just melt away,
100%.
because those thoughts are going to take you away from what's important, which is that time and that
Yeah.
self-care.
Yeah. And there's to you, there's a whole world out there, but to your kids, you are their whole world. And you
Yeah.
have to remind yourself that that's all they have, especially while they're little, right? And that those moments
Mhm.
pass very, very quickly.
Absolutely, and having those boundaries, so when we're spending that time with them, not
Mm,
allowing anything to come into that time, and I call that having those healthy boundaries. So, for example, I know people, they're done at 5 p.m., they're done, and then 5:30 to 6, that's time to spend with their children and not allowing
mm,
anything to interfere with that 30 minutes or that hour that they've carved out, for their
mm,
children or even for their partners or friends.
mm. Yeah, absolutely. Well, Dr. Sola, this has been joy to have this conversation. A reminder,
Yes.
and some of our ladies watching this right now, make sure you share this live with someone because you never know. Maybe somebody is actually needing this conversation right now. Maybe they just need a reminder. Maybe they're just pushing too hard and not finding enough time for themselves and their self care. And they need to get in touch with Dr. Sola. How would people get connected with you?
So the best way to get in touch with me is my website, which is www.transformative.cc. Or if you would want to join our free Facebook group, Burnout to Balance, Women's Community for Self Care, that would be great. We share a lot of wonderful tips on how you can stay on top of your self care on a daily basis.
I love that. Well, I want to invite all of you ladies to make sure you reach out to Dr. Sola, follow her on her social media channels, get to know her a little bit more because I think you would truly enjoy the value that our speaker today has shared and she constantly shares with her followers across different platforms. To all of you also watching, I want to remind you that we have an upcoming Women Thrive Summit, which is happening March 18th to the 22nd. And this is our annual women empowerment event that happens every third week of March. And we have some amazing, amazing speakers lined up. And Dr. Sola, you're one of them.
Yes, I am. I'm excited. I can't wait. It's just a lineup of amazing speakers. So it's an exciting summit. So I'm just counting the days.
Yeah.
It's
What
going
is
to
your
be
talk going to
wonderful.
be about?
It's going to be about empowering women to go from burnout to balance by using
Mm,
realistic self care toolkits that fit their busy
mm,
schedule. So I'm
I love
excited
it.
about my talk and excited to hear the other ladies as well. It's going to be amazing.
I'll be there with a pen and paper. Genuinely, I learned so much during these summits because the speakers are so diverse
Yes.
and they all have unique perspective and experiences, and we have aha moments and we have a laugh, we have a
Yes.
cry. Like and I was just speaking to our production team and he's like, I said, "Are you excited?" He said, "Yeah, I'm very excited." He said, "You know what's really fun? That all of these unexpected things happen. Real
Mm,
emotions, real connections, and
yes.
the growth." And he's like, I am really looking forward to just seeing what we're going to do this year and what happens. So I think it's going to be very exciting. So if you haven't already saved your spot, do it now.
I definitely do. It's going to be epic. I can't wait.
Yeah, and that's where we as women support each other at this whole event.
Yes.
And we've been doing Women Thrive Summit since 2020. And really, it's an empowering platform to bring women
Mhm.
together, to have these wonderful conversations, to support each other. And, you know, what how many places do you feel comfortable going in and sharing your experiences and tapping into somebody else's wisdom, making those beautiful, authentic connections? That's what this space is about. And my goal is to always create a safe space for us to be ourselves. And the topic that you're speaking to, Dr. Sola, around mental health, our health, it's not an easy one. And you got to have a particularly safe space, I think, to seek out for support and to find
Yes.
the right people.
Absolutely, yes, because a safe space is basically a space of listening. It's a space of
Mhm.
empathy, compassion, and no judgment. When
Yeah.
people feel like they are not being judged and we are really trying to understand where they're coming from, they're more likely to truly express how they're feeling. So the
Mm,
creation of a safe space is paramount in having people connect and share their lived experiences.
yeah, 100%. And when women come into our space, I always want to say, come in as you.
Mhm.
We don't have to wear masks.
Exactly.
We don't have to have our guard up because we're here to be our authentic selves, and that is enough.
Yes.
And I think sometimes when we walk into spaces for networking, we feel like, "Oh, who's here? And am I good
Right.
enough to be here?" My reminder
Yes.
is just you're as amazing as you come, and
Yes.
just be yourself and be
Mhm.
celebrated.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Perfectly said.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being part of the platform and sharing your wisdom on our stage.
Oh, thank you. I've loved every moment. I appreciate you having me on the platform. Thank you for that. Thank you so
I
much.
appreciate it. To all of you watching, I hope you have enjoyed this conversation. To make sure you connect with our guest, Dr. Solo, and be there at Women Thrive Summit, March 18th to the 22nd. You can invite your friends. There are free
Mhm.
tickets. There are also opportunities to upgrade if you wanted more access or replay. So there is something for everyone. And we cover topics anything from mental health to
Mhm.
empowerment to leadership, financial success, business, confidence building, marketing, visibility. I think there is really something for everyone. And I like to think of it as a holistic approach to business, because if we don't take care of ourselves, we're not going to have a successful business. So that's my personal take on it.
Absolutely. We need to take care of self.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes.
Thank you all so much for watching, and we look forward to seeing you at another live. Take care for now.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.